Let's talk about Bangladesh and Brazil. You've got two major up and coming economies, but they're on totally opposite sides of the planet. They're trying to build this economic relationship, but you have to ask, is it really a partnership of equals? We're going to dig into that right now.
And wow, right off the bat, this chart tells a pretty dramatic story, doesn't it? Just look at those numbers for 2024. Brazil is sending almost $2.5 billion worth of goods to Bangladesh. And in return, Bangladesh is exporting just a tiny fraction of that, around $242 million.
So here's the big question. What is causing this massive $2.2 billion imbalance? And, more importantly, can they actually fix it? Is there a path forward for these two countries to build something that's a little more balanced, a little more beneficial for everyone involved? That's what we're here to figure out.
Okay, so first things first, to really understand where this relationship could go, we've got to break down where it is right now. What are they actually trading with each other? Well, despite that huge imbalance, the total amount of trade is nothing to sneeze at. It hit $2.7 billion in 2024. So this isn't some minor connection. We're talking about a pretty substantial economic relationship that's only getting bigger.
Now, what's really fascinating is what they're trading. It's a classic case of a complementary relationship. They're not really competing. Bangladesh is sending finished products, think garments, shoes, and pharmaceuticals. And Brazil, they're supplying the essential raw materials that Bangladesh's industries desperately need, like sugar, cotton, and soybeans. All right, so that's the picture today, a relationship that fits together well but is seriously lopsided. So let's look to the future. Where are the big opportunities to start balancing the scales, especially for Bangladesh? The number one opportunity, and it's a huge one, is in the sector that Bangladesh is famous for, apparel. And this really puts it all into perspective. I mean, Bangladesh is a global powerhouse, the second biggest apparel exporter in the entire world. But get this, in Brazil's massive, nearly $6 billion textile market, Bangladesh has a tiny 2.5% share. The potential for growth here is just incredible. Okay, next up is another industry where Bangladesh is a serious global player, and that's pharmaceuticals. And this isn't just wishful thinking. Brazil is genuinely interested. During a pretty high-profile visit, Brazil's own foreign minister actually toured pharmaceutical plants in Bangladesh. That's a huge signal that they're open for business, especially for high-quality, affordable medicine. And it doesn't stop with those two giants. There are other really cool areas popping up. Picture this, sustainable jute bags from Bangladesh being used to package Brazil's massive agricultural exports. Or think about the two countries sharing farming know-how and even working together on things like digital payments. But if all this potential is just sitting there, you have to wonder, what's holding everything back? So let's get real about the roadblocks that are stopping this relationship from truly taking off. The single biggest obstacle, the one thing that makes it so tough for Bangladeshi goods to compete in Brazil, really boils down to two words: high tariffs. And we're not talking about small fees here. Because Brazil is part of the Mercosur trade bloc, key Bangladeshi exports like apparel get hit with tariffs somewhere in the range of 25 to 35%. That makes it almost impossible to compete on price. And on top of those killer tariffs, you've got other big challenges. The logistics are a nightmare. They're so far apart, there are no direct shipping routes, which drives up costs. The banking can be a headache with these complicated payment guarantees called letters of credit. And if you're in pharma, getting through Brazil's tough health regulator, Anvisa, is a whole marathon in itself. So, how do you solve the biggest problem of all, the tariffs? Well, the main tool on the table is something called a preferential trade agreement, or a PTA. This is basically the key that could unlock the whole thing, an agreement specifically designed to lower those tariffs and open the doors. Okay, so we've laid out the massive potential and the very real problems. That brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the roadmap. What are the actual, concrete steps that both sides need to take to make this work? Well, for businesses themselves, it's all about being proactive. You can't just sit back and wait. It means doing your homework, really understanding what Brazilian consumers want and how their regulations work. It means showing up to events like the Made in Bangladesh Expo to make those crucial connections. And hey, for the long haul, maybe even setting up a joint venture to have a real presence on the ground. And for the policymakers, the to-do list is just as clear. Job number one, fast-track that trade agreement to get those tariffs down. They've also got to work on making the banking and payment systems way less complicated. And finally, they need to tackle the logistics problem and seriously look into direct shipping options.
And you can't forget about the crucial role of groups that sit in the middle. Organizations like the Brazil-Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce are absolutely vital. They're the matchmakers, the connectors who help bridge the cultural and business gaps and help companies find their perfect partners.
So when you boil it all down, here's the takeaway. Getting this right isn't a zero-sum game. It's not about one country winning at the other's expense. It's about creating this powerful economic connection where both nations can play to their strengths and both come out ahead. And that leaves us with one last big picture thought. If, and it's a big F, but if Bangladesh and Brazil can actually pull this off and build this balanced partnership, could it become a brand new blueprint for how emerging countries all across the global south can work together and grow together in the future?